How can I give a vibe? This came from Round the World Tour. So we'll talk about impressions from Around the World Tour. Impressions are very simple. Something I knew before, but it's good when you see it. During this tour, since I was very interested in what was going on, before I left, everyone was running to get gas masks. And I was just hoping nothing happens till I come back. I was hoping to get two things. First of all, let's Chodesh Adar come. Wait till Chodesh Adar. Chodesh Adar is a good month. And I want to be back here. Baruch Hashem, Chodesh Adar came and I'm back here. So I was keeping in touch with the world news and what's going on, more than usual. And a big chizuk in one yisoid. We're living in Alma de Shikra. And even though sometimes I've mentioned this many times in passing, let's make it a topic for a vad to try to hammer across this yisoid. Because this is something that has to come, and the sooner it comes, the better it is. And we aren't aware of this, maybe in the back of our minds, but we should live with this. It should be davar pashut and borur. We are living in Olam HaSheker. What does it mean, Alma de Shikra? And l'chayr, it doesn't make too much sense, Alma de Shikra. How could it be Olam HaSheker? The Kodesh Baruch Hu, Chaysamay shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu emes. So the Kodesh Baruch Hu that's Kulei emes is going to make a world of Sheker. Is that a Pella? Vayer vayivayker, the Kodesh Baruch Hu did this, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu did that, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu was Vayivra Elokim. Kodesh Baruch Hu did Sheish Mei Bereshis, Maisa Etzbaisai shel HaKodesh Baruch Hu is this world. So how could the Kodesh Baruch Hu, which is Kulei Emes, make a world which is Kulei Sheker? And what does it mean, a world of Sheker? The answer is that what it means, the world of Sheker, is that nothing is as it appears to be. That virtually everything that you see, the truth is the opposite of what the eye sees. That doesn't mean that there's no emes in the world. Of course, there's plenty emes in the world, except that you have to be able to find the emes. And finding the emes becomes a challenge, if not the challenge, of living in this world. And the only way that you have any ability at all to find the emes in this world, if you are aware of the fact that I can't trust my eyes because it's Alma de Shikra, it's Olam HaSheker. As long as you are under the assumption that seeing is believing, which is the biggest sheker in this world. How about that? The biggest sheker in this world is seeing is believing. Because what are you going to see? You see sheker. So what do you believe in? You believe in sheker. Because that's all you could do. And isn't that the most basic yesod of science? Why science rejects religion? Because seeing is believing. So since we're living in a world of sheker and the whole world believes that seeing is believing, so it's very, very simple and pashut that is false. Seeing is not believing. You see something, don't believe it. That's the aleph. The first haskalah is seeing is not believing. Well, talking about Elam HaSheker, aren't we? That's very hard. It's very difficult to live with this until you progress to a certain madrega of becoming a ben Torah. because this is so essential, it's so poshut, so yesodistic. Seeing is believing. Because Baruch Hu made a world where everything is misleading. Why? Why would the Borei of Shekula Emes do this? The answer is to give us this challenge of life in this world. And he said, I'm going to make a world that is misleading from A to Z. Misleading in every way, manner, and fashion. Misleading in a way that is totally impossible for any human being to come to the truth, except through the Torah. V'nosan lonu Torah's emes. And the simple understanding of this is that everything is warped and wrong unless you put on the right spectacles in which you see things in the right perspective. A person whose eyesight is very bad, and whenever he looks at something with his normal eyes, just gets a bunch of blurry vision, and everything looks the opposite. Plus he's also colorblind. He's colorblind and blurry and this and that, and he has something called opposite vision. What's big looks small, what's small looks big. He has every visual problem that exists. So whatever he sees, what's green is really brown, what's black is white, what's big is small, what's up is down. That's what is visual. That's his normal vision. It's all wrong. Size, texture, color, everything. But there's a master doctor, and they have such a thing that you can make spectacles, make glasses. Because there's so many different problems, so many different visual defects, you need really special glasses for that. But whenever he looks without his glasses, he sees everything totally wrong. But he's aware of that. He knows that. The eye doctors checked him out, and he said, my friend, whatever you look at without glasses, you have it all wrong. But here are these glasses. You put on the glasses, and he sees everything the way it's supposed to be seen. And that is the exact taich. Not even a moshal and a nimshal, it's kulei hainu hach. Nosan lonu Torah's emes. And the Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us Torah's emes, through which we could see the emes. And only that. And that is the challenge of this world. The challenge of this world is emes kinei. Buy emes. Find emes. Why the Kodesh Baruch Hu that's kulei emes would create an olam that's kulei sheker is because emes is valuable. It's because emes is not something that every person who doesn't deserve to see the emes will get. Similar in a way to Ra Kodesh Baruch Hu she'or, v'yar Elokim es ha'or ki toiv, that the or is too good. V'gonzoi l'tzadikim. Similar and parallel to that, the Kodesh Baruch Hu said, emes is my chaysamoi. Emes is me. Emes is kutsha brichu. Emes is not cheap. Emes is not the given. Emes has to be arrived at, worked on, earned, deserved, and only through the spectacles of Torah. What is mechazik me, chutz mechazik me in two things when I go amongst people, especially in this trip that I was connected to the news of the world was going on, and it's so blatant, the sheker of this whole entire world is what an alma d'shikra. What an olam ha-sheker, deceit Kula sheker. Kula sheker. You don't even care if you're lying or not. You don't even care. There's somebody called the President of the United States of America. He lied and deceived his wife, his children, his wife, his daughter. He lied and deceived and this and that. And the more that comes out to light that he lies and deceives, his popularity goes up. He's our hero. Immorality, forget about it. That doesn't really bother us right now. He's a goy. That's not even part of anything, immorality. A goy is a goy. Of course they clap for immorality. That's not Alma the Shikra, but lying and deceiving. The man is very clearly been proven is lying and deceiving. So what? So what? Who expects the president to say that's true? I mean, what do you want? What do you expect? You expect somebody to be honest? No. The answer is no. No. There was a president called Honest Abe Lincoln. That's a while ago, I think. He died a while ago, I think. Honest Abe hasn't been around for a while. I don't know how honest he was, but people thought he was honest. Since then, I don't think there are too many honest presidents, or anybody. Okay, because no one, and there were a lot of polls taken and census taken about how many people are honest. This was in the papers. Since honesty and deceit is a major topic nowadays, if that's a chesaron at all, if the president is dishonest to his family, to the nation, to everybody else, if that's a chesaron, so they took a lot of polls and census and everybody, do you think dishonesty is is something, and most people said no, they don't think dishonesty. And then they asked people, were you dishonest? And of course all of this is, Bilam Shem, no one else is going to tell. And of course the answer was, I think in the 90s, of course I'm dishonest and deceitful to my spouse, to my family, to my this, to my that. And therefore it's a normal way of life. And, dishonesty and deceit is, and no one expects anything else. Which was the only truth I saw in Alma the Shikra. That people are aware of the fact that dishonesty and deceit is normal to be expected, and we do it, and we don't care if the president does it, and we don't care if everybody does. We expect it. This is to be expected, and this is the norm. And this was the only honesty that I saw, that dishonesty and deceit is expected and is the norm and is. So this is the world. What also impresses me, sitting here in the yeshiva I sit in the yeshiva with the daily Yisrael, your Rabbanim will have to be very, very special. Kulam emes, the Rabbanim here in the yeshiva are very special. And the Rabbanim that I go to otherwise are the daily Yisrael, so I'm used to mingling with Anshe emes. And then you go out in the world and you see that's not everywhere like that. Even amongst people, yeshiva people, so-called, B'nai Torah, so-called, whatever, Talmid Chachamim, they're not even aware of this. And then it bothered me a great deal. People aren't even aware of this basic yesod. If I said I'm going to come back, even though I mentioned it here and there, throwing into the shmuzim, this Aleph base, the Aleph Sheva Aleph base, that unless you are wearing your spectacles of Torah, if you are looking at anything at all with your normal eyesight, you are seeing Alma de Shikra. Now, the thing is, a person creates contact lenses, permanent contact lenses. You just have to put them on. that the Torah, a person learns Torah long enough in a makom where the Torah is used in this way of explaining the world, where hashkafa sa'olam. Hashkafa means to see and to visualize. That's what hashkafa means. Eventually, where a person hears enough hashkafa and learns enough Torah and puts himself over to the hands of Torah, that he gets permanent contact lenses of Torah and he sees through things through the eyes of emes, because that becomes part of him. But that's a madrega that takes quite a few years of learning. That takes quite a giving yourself over to emes and hearing emes. Until then, most b'nei Torah for a good few years of their lives, when they want to look at something, have to take the glasses of Torah and put it on when they look at something. And they have to say, hey, wait a minute. I'm looking at this with my normal eyesight. And since we know that seeing is not believing, because all I can see is sheker with my own eyes, wait a second. Let me put on my glasses and see this through the glasses of Torah. This is the transition period of a Ben Torah, who becomes cognizant of the fact that with his own eyes all he could see is sheker. And he has to put on the spectacles of Torah to see the emes. And that's a big challenge. Not always does the budding Ben Torah have the right spectacles to put on for the right seeing to see. Because you have to know what Das Torah is about these things. At least don't be fooled by what your eye sees. So the one thing that at least tonight we should come up with is seeing is not believing. At least you can't trust your eyesight. Torah says that nechem doesn't just mean with znus and re'iyos asuros. Nechem is koilel. Don't believe your eyes for whatever you see. And since there's nobody on earth that wants to stay with sheker, and you don't have to be frum, you don't have to be a tzaddik, and you don't have to be black, and you don't have to be fanatic, not to want to live a life of sheker. There's nobody in this earth that wants to be a victim of the sheker of this earth. I don't think it's possible for a person to hear these words, understand them with maturity, and not have a goal, no matter what. Whether I'll be a tzaddik, whether I'll be a Talmud Chacham, I don't want to be a victim of Olam HaSheker. I don't want to believe sheker. I don't want to see sheker. At least I want to see emes. I think that's a minimal she'ifa and goal. That anybody, even a goy, if he had the opportunity, but he doesn't. The goy doesn't because hivdilonu min ha'toyim v'nosan lonu teiras emes. The goy has no choice. Which is one of the reasons Unkelus became a Yid. Because Unkelus wanted to learn Torah, and a guy couldn't have access. Unkelus, I'll become a Yid. I have to see the emes. I want to get to the emes. And I think it's very important. I think it's very elementary that every person that cares about himself, say, well, one thing I want from Torah minimally is at least to have the spectacles of seeing the emes and not live the normal life of the whole entire world who have no escape from Olam HaSheker. So let me tell you, on the one hand, it's very disheartening to see so many people not aware of this, even so B'nai Torah, whatever. On the other hand, you have no idea what a chizuk it does to a person. I was zeichet to be surrounded, to learn by Gedolei Yisrael, those who had the eyes of Kulei, Rav Chatzkel's eyes, Panav V'Zhurav's eyes, Yibod L'chaim Aruchim Rav Shach's eyes, which is the eyes of Emes. You know how simply you have a person that is zeicha to be a student, a talmid of people that open up your eyes to the Emes, and then a person hopefully has the spectacles, at least the spectacles, the ability to put them on, if not achieving the great goal of having permanent contact lenses with the eyes of Torah. You know what a chizuk that is? You walk around, and you walk around Olam HaSheker, you say, well, no one's even aware of it, it's Olam HaSheker. Which is one of the things that Eretz Yisrael has to it. And that's why Eretz Yisrael is Yesh Lo Elokah, V'chutz La'aretz Doimeh She'ein Lo Elokah. And I believe, and the thing that I see, of course in Chutz La'aretz they could say a nice svara also. In Chutz La'aretz they could be Baki B'Shas also. But in this particular Nekuda, Yesh Lo Elokah in Eretz Yisrael, V'doimeh She'ein Lo Elokah V'chutz La'aretz, it has a lot to do with Eloi Emes. There's Elokei Emes and Elohei Chesed, Elohei Zahav. Chutz La'aretz is very big in Elohei Chesed, Elohei Zahav. That they know they do have. I mentioned a few times wherever I went, it's not even a joke, it's reality. How wonderful it is that in America they put on the dollar bill, in God we trust. And how wonderful it is that they put on that God that they trust. They put, in this God we trust. At least that's one of the emes that they have. In this God we trust. The holy dollar bill, the Elohei Chesed, Elohei Zav. Chutz La'aretz is a place of Choshech. Chutz La'aretz is a place where I'm looking around. I give a shmuz. I gave a lot, a really lot. People are in the spoil. I didn't say anything. I said a few words of emes, a few words of reality. People get all excited. What are you getting excited about? They don't hear it. They don't hear it. You hear a little emes, you get excited. It was enormously mechazik. On the one hand, it made the person feel very bad that this is not the norm. It's not what everybody has. Every Ben Torah should make it not just to say a good pshat, make a good laning, and learn pshat and Rashi and Teisus and the sugya. But even more than that is to see the emes of this world. There's no question in my mind, everybody sitting here in the room tonight, no matter how much you steiged in learning, and many of you steiged enormously, some steiged a little less, all depends on what time you get out of bed in the morning, and how much you apply yourself. But everybody steiged in Hakoras or Emes. There's no question about that. There's no question that people steiged in their awareness of the world. Understanding the world, understanding themselves, understanding what's important and what's not important, understanding how the Satan works, understanding so many different things. But I do believe still that in the time that you're here, you're steiged enough to open your eyes in certain fields, but to still feel that you are lacking, because you don't get this in a few months. In a few months you get a glimpse. A few months you can get a realization, maybe something to that. Well, it's not me, this is Chazal. Kodesh Baruch Hu made Alma de Shikra. And the only way to see the Emes is through the spectacles of Teiras Emes. This is not my shtickle Torah. This is reality. Which brings us to something else that I speak about a lot, and the other piece of sheker. I also have spoken a few modern places. They couldn't believe. They were really shook up a little bit because it wasn't what they thought. These people from the other world. In the real reality, what is real reality? I myself was the victim of the idea that when I was a child, you saw these, these Canaan, the tzaddikim, living in a world. Some parents tell me, these big rabbis in an ivory tower who are removed from reality, who don't understand what's going on in the world. Along with the whole group of Jews, the modern, not modern Orthodox, but even whatever, from Jews who don't accept Das Torah, because in Yom Yom we are more with it than these rabbis are. Therefore, we're not mechuyev to listen to them or ask them. We'll have a shayla on a chicken. We'll ask them, and this is part of Olam HaSheker. Because when I was part of the other world first, and then I came to Panevish, and I came to the simple realization that the only people tuned into reality are these people in so-called ivory tower. And everybody else who are supposedly tuned into reality are victims of Olam HaSheker. Sheker is not reality. Sheker is the facade the Kodesh Baruch Hu created to fool all of those who have no Torah. What the eye sees is the masquerade, the facade that the Kodesh Baruch Hu put on everything on this earth, which is impenetrable except through the spectacles of Torah. So now, who is tuned into reality and who is out of touch of reality? Using the word reality for emes, which it is, who is tuned into reality and who is not? And I'll tell you who I found was tuned into reality. The two people who were the most removed from Alma de Shikra were the most tuned into reality was Reb Chatzkel and the Steipler. Couldn't find people more removed from Alma de Shikra. More removed. Wow, they're out of it. No, they were in it. Nobody on earth came near them with being in it. Because that's emes, the whole emes. You walked into the Steipler, you walked into Reb Chatzkel, and you had a time machine to emes. You saw it in front of you. Ish emes. Wow. Wow, because they didn't let any sheker, because their lives were so nucky from sheker that they had the whole view of emes k'moishehu. And you walked out of there that you touched reality. This is the real world. This is emes la'mitoi. Which explains why Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, after the 13 years in Pekin, in the Ma'ora, cut off from the entire civilization for 13 years, was this Gal Eloi, what's called Chochmas ha'emes. So it's Kabbalah. But the word that's given is Chachmas ha'emes, because that's an inner emes. That's an inner emes that even we don't have access to, because we don't have Kabbalah. Well, that's an inner emes. In other words, there are three stages. There is the superficial stage, which is Kulay Sheker, and then there are the eyes of the Nigla, Teiras Emes, which is Nigla, the Emes had Nigla, and then there's the Emes Hapnimi Hanista, which I'm not talking about tonight. But that's even a deeper darga of Emes that the Shema Yechoi came to after being minutok totally from the outside world, totally from any sheker. And the whole story in Gemara and Shabbos with Yehuda ben Gerim that started everything off was because Yehuda ben Gerim, and this is Pshuton Shel HaMaimer and Chazal in the Gemara, but I knows about, he was in Shabeach the Romans for what they did. And Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai tained that you have the sheker dika outlook. What you're saying is a superficial sheker. V'chol ma she'osu le'osu ela. That was the emes hanigla. The whole objection that brought Shema Yochai to run away, to have to be nitmam in the Ma'ora, because Yehuda ben Gerim said something which was ha'olam k'moshe nira, which was olam ha'sheker. Shema Yochai said so. That's sheker, what you think. That's the wrong view of olam hazeh. That's the view of olam hazeh, the normal view. That's sheker. So he had to run away, and he would Kodesh Baruch Hu gave him the emes hanister about pnimi. We're not holding by emes hanister about pnimi yet. We're interested in emes hanigla. Everybody wants for their children. The Kuzri brings down, I mentioned it in speaking to children, Man de Saper was ne bincho ben binches asher salalti b'Mitzrayim. Eno da manchil sheker lebonov. One of the proofs that everything in the Torah happened, it was Yetzias Mitzrayim, because we sit every Pesach by night, and it's an ingrown, every Yid sits, afilu rechoikim. We talk about it, Avodim, Hayinu, the Parah b'Mitzrayim, and maybe they made it up. So we said two reasons why it can't be they made it up. Number one, how could be the whole entire Klal Yisrael would make up such a... He couldn't get away with it. And the second thing is, this is what we give to our children. That children who are so precious to a father, the father, more than anything, wants to make sure that the child knows emes. So when a person is coming to this understanding that the world is an olam ha-sheker, kulei sheker, everything is sheker, can't trust anything. Every person should think, number one, I would really like to live the life of emes. I would like to know the emes. Which means I have to learn Torah for a while. I have to learn Torah in a way from people who are megala the emes. And I need Eretz Yisrael for a while. One of the things the Sultan wants very much is that a person should leave Eretz Yisrael prematurely. What does prematurely mean? Before he was koine kinyan emes. In Chutz La'aretz, you're not going to get it. I'm sorry. I don't want to vow to any yeshivas in Chutz La'aretz. But you're not going to get it in Chutz La'aretz. You're not going to get it. I didn't see it. I'm not cholila. Of course, there were yechidim. There's this and there's that. But a limud in this area, it's not even spoken about. It's not even discussed. And it comes back to me what Reb Chatzkel writes in the Igrois. My favorite sefer there, I think right now there are 6 or 7 volumes of Or Yecheskel. My favorite sefer of all the Or Yecheskels is the first one, the Igrois. Then he wrote B'Ksav Yad Kodshay. He put his pen in the ink and he wrote it B'Ksav Yad Kodshay. Signed name. And he writes over and over again. Tishma, this is going back 40, 50 years ago when he started the Michtavim. You won't even hear it. And you know, it's funny. How could you be so sure? How could you be so sure that you'll find that in the Igrois of Or Yecheskel dozens of times. I see it. It's a different world out there. Of course, there's frumkeit, there's hidur v'kashrus, and there's learning, and there's chidushei Torah, and there's svarim being written, and there's mussar being said. But the word emes, truth isn't that sure you don't hear too much either. That's the unfortunate truth. That's one of the curses of Iksid and Mashiach. Emes tehei nederes. And what does it mean, emes tehei nederes? The taich in Chazal, the Gemara in Seitan, Sanhedrin, emes tehei nederes, Iksid and Mashiach, means from Olam HaTorah. Because outside of Olam HaTorah, there never was. It was never there. So nederes means it'll be hidden from their place where it was originally, which was Olam HaTorah. And this is the curse of Iksid and Mashiach. It's hard to find emes. And how can a Yid live with himself with the knowledge that if he doesn't pursue Limud HaTorah in an atmosphere of Gilui HaEmes, he will live forever in a world of Sheker. Forget about Tzchar V'Einish, Yirah Shamayim, or any of that. We are dealing with Alma Shikra, which means that a certain amount of work has to go into this. In the right place, in the right atmosphere, in the Eretz Yisrael, for yourself and for your children. A person that has any principles at all should have public enemy number 1, Sheker. Don't you, Sheker Sonesi V'asa'eva, the Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I hate Sheker. So, you hate Sheker, you made an Olam HaSheker? Yes. Because I hate Sheker. Because emes is so valuable. So I made a world where you have to go and find the emes. You have to look for it. You have to use the spectacles of Torah. You have to train yourself. You have to work on it. This is the Sheker of the world. Not just by the Goyish world, mentioned so many times. Seinfeld also mentions it. It's never pushed by all Mavakshe Emes. Das Balabatim Hefech Das Torah. Well, the Goyish world. Das Balabatim Hefech Das Torah. What the Balabatim think is the truth is the opposite of the Emes. Because they have no access to Emes. They can be from nice Balabatim, but that's not Das Torah. It's the opposite. And the famous story of the Chaznish, I heard one of the times, I heard of Tzemel also mentions it over. It's a Davar Yedua. The Chaznish once sent out one of his Talmidim to go build a yeshiva somewhere. So the Talmud said, the Rebbe, but I have Shailas and Das Torah, and no, I'm not going to have any Adam Gadol there to ask, how am I going to have access to Das Torah? The Chaznish says, very simple, very easy to get Das Torah. How? You go to the shul, the frum shul, and the Mincha Mar, when the Balabatim are sitting around schmoozing, talking, ask them your shayla. I have this problem. And they're going to talk it over, and then this one's going to remember a Mishnah, this one's going to remember this, and Yankiv, and Chayodo. They'll talk it over, they'll come to a conclusion, and the emes is Das Torah, the Hefech is Das Torah. The opposite of what their conclusion is Das Torah. It's very simple, the Chazon Ish says. Once we know that Das Balabatim Hefech Das Torah, it's very simple to come to Das Torah. These are little impressions of around the world tour, which included a lot of yeshivas, a lot of kehilos. And I'd just like to get everybody should realize it. Once and for all, we spoke about it. Now, everybody should think in their own life, well, I come to a life of realization of MS or not. How much have I progressed now? I want to say this. Anybody sitting here tonight that says, I didn't get anywhere, there's no change in my hashkafa, I didn't have anything to realize there's a sheker and MS, then you may as well leave now, because if you don't even have the slightest inkling, if being here these months didn't at least open your eyes to realize, well, maybe, then I don't know if there's any hope for you. Could be you're so buried under the sheker. Or else there's something else called, since seeking out MS means staying in yeshiva longer, which is maybe not what I want to do, especially since it means staying in a yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and might even mean staying in this particular yeshiva, which doesn't fit into the plans. So therefore, you could try, it's very easy to build up a sheker that I don't need it, or whatever it is. That's part of the sheker. Sheker is very simple. Sheker, deceit. Now, a very simple statement to make. I said there were a lot of polls made and consensus, and and it comes out the whole world is everybody deceiving everybody. That's what it came out. The papers had it. Everybody deceits and lies and cheats. That's it. So therefore, no one's upset or shook it up by it, because that's the norm in their own lives. So they don't think the president has to be any better, any more morally better than they are. Everybody's immoral and deceitful and cheatful. So why should the president be different? The majority of deceit that takes place in this world is man deceiving himself. The great majority of all deceit, not spouse to spouse or whatever it is, or the great majority of deceit is man deceiving themselves, which we are all guilty of. At least don't be stupid. You want to do something, realize what you're doing. Don't at least make a goal. I don't want to deceive myself. It's bad enough that I'm a victim of deceit from the rest of Olam HaSheker, but I don't want to deceive myself. Any plans that you're doing, anything that you're thinking about, don't let deception come in. Be aware of the whole truth, and don't deceive yourself. Because Baruch Hu should bench all of us. We should want to live a life of emes, to know the emes, to understand the emes. We should have the kelim to see the emes, and once we should see the emes, we should be able to live up here the emes. And in the meantime, all of us which have gotten to a certain madrega of understanding what emes means, we should have simcha. Baruch Elokeinu shebaranu lechvoidoi v'nchodesh odor shemarbim b'simcha. We need reasons. How is it called marbim b'simcha? One of them is Baruch Elokeinu shebaronu lichvoidoi v'ivdilonu min ha'toyim, and separated us from all of those who are blindly living in the world of deceit, ayidei, that He gave us Torah's emes.